everybody, welcome back. It's just Sal.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
Today we're going to talk about New Avengers Volume 2, The Sentry. A while ago, we did New Avengers Volume 1, Breakout. We talked about the formation of the New Avengers, a.k.a. the Bendis Bunch. That's what I like to call them. They're the characters Brian Michael Bendis likes to write about and actually arguably does a decent job with.
Yeah, and
Wolverine.
then you get a great intro with, like, the Brady Bunch, but it's Avengers characters.
Yeah, it's just Luke Cage, Wolverine, Jessica Jones, Spider-Man, just...
all in squares looking at each other.
Yeah. This is the continuation of that series, and I thought we'd just jump into it because I like talking about that series. It's the Avengers book that got me into the Avengers. Forever, I was like, the Avengers are unsellable characters. Here's Hawkeye and Cersei. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
We literally just did, most recent episode was about the unsellables and how they were like, Spider-Man, would you like to help boost sales on our book? We did it for 4 issues and then kicked you out.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, fair enough. Get out.
You guys are kind of lame.
And I'm
awesome.
I sell more books than you, and it's just me. People would rather read about the mundane adventures of my newspaper publisher boss and his editor-in-chief sub-boss, Robbie Robertson. New Avengers, the Volume 2, The Sentry, furthers to bolster the cast of the New Avengers. Originally, you know, the Avengers sold like garbage, and so Marvel was looking to make the Avengers relevant, and they...
Make them a viable team.
Yeah, so they brought Bendis in, and he's like, why isn't Spider-Man or Wolverine on the Avengers? And they're like, because they're both loners. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Spider-Man's not a loner.
You had a whole series that was called Marvel Team Up, where Spider-Man teamed up with everyone from the Marvel Universe. Spider-Man's been with every superhero in the Marvel Universe. He met the Stranger.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is the equivalent of the town prostitute.
Yes, he is Marvel's biggest slut. And there is no excuse for why you could say that he's a loner. So, yeah, tell me another one. Oh, Wolverine. Oh, you mean the most popular X-Man and former
team
of mutants.
Yeah.
Also, he was on
Alpha Flight.
Alpha Flight. So, yeah, no. Then they're like, okay, we got to introduce the rest of the team. Sentry has been on every New Avengers cover since the first issue, yet
he's not on the team. Right?
He's not on the team until issue, 7. And even then, he's not on the team until the end of this volume.
Okay.
So Sentry, who's the Sentry.
They're like dealing with him.
Yes.
He's not on the team.
Yeah, because Breakout, they find him in the supervillain prison known as the Raft.
Yeah.
And so he's there, and he's like, I killed my wife. And they're like, we have no record of that. You're just here by yourself.
You just broke into this prison.
And we also don't... No, he voluntarily...
Oh, he surrendered.
He was like, I have all these powers. And they're like, okay, motherfucker's got all these powers. And he says he killed somebody. Let him in. But he's here of his own volition. We can't prove that he didn't kill anyone.
We're not going to make a fugitive joke about him killing his wife?
I didn't... Because he did. Or at least he says he did. It'd be like the reverse fugitive.
Yeah,
it's like, I killed my wife! And they're like, we have no record.
Do you have a mechanical arm?
No. And they're like,
well, clearly you didn't kill her.
Why?
Like, we have no proof of her existing. What color were his eyes? What color was her hair? We can't help you until you help us. There.
Thank you.
There you go.
There's
everything you can get from the fugitive and apply to that.
Only
that
wrong.
idea.
The story opens with Tony Stark kind of like flying around being Iron Man. He is going to Funtime Incorporated, which I think is in Jersey or something. And it's just an abandoned toy company.
That sounds like Jersey.
Yeah. And by the way, every time that Tony does one of these clandestine, in the middle of nowhere visits, it's at some abandoned factory or some abandoned company.
Does he does he buy land and just set up old things?
Yeah, he builds an abandoned factory. It was never a factory, but he built it, he employed people, and then a week later he fired everyone and then closed it down and then hired Hollywood people to weather the building.
So people are like, oh, Funtime,
yeah, exactly. Old people are like, oh, I remember Funtime, and they're like, Grandpa, you're full of shit. There was nothing in that plot of land 2 weeks ago.
That used to be a Pizza Hut.
You're a sheep. Stark goes and meets with the Illuminati, and this was the first introduction to the Illuminati. I remember reading this and being like, what's going on here? Stark goes, he's lying to the team, he's going to this clandestine room, and he meets up with the astral projected form of Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt, Professor X, and Namor. In the current climate of Marvel, half the characters here wouldn't even be at this table because they're not
because they're not important enough.
Well, because we can't make movies about them.
Oh, right.
Like Namor.
Or because Namor, Mr. Fantastic, or Professor X.
Oh, Professor X is there too?
Yeah, he's right there.
Oh.
He's in the crease. So
he's in the chair.
Yeah. So he meets with everybody, and everyone's like, "What's going on here?" And I remember reading this, being like, every member of the respective like worlds of Marvel are sitting at this table.
Right, the leaders.
Yeah, the leaders of their teams, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I remember like I was not alone, and the internet was like, what's going on here? And then Ben is like, oh, you mean the Illuminati? And they're like, what?
But I spelled it naughty.
No. He by the way, there is a evil Illuminati called the Cabal, and Bendis, whenever he did interviews, called it the Illuminati. So you and Bendis share a sense.
There you go.
Bendis, that's probably not
I actually make that
Low-hanging
reference.
fruit.
I made that reference in another episode, and everyone's like, it's called the Cabal! And I'm like, thanks, Gunther. So he meets up with the team, and the team is like, so yeah, Stark, do you have anything you want to open the meeting with? And he's like, no. And then Mr. Fantastic opens up like his iPad, and it has like an article saying like, the new Avengers?
Question mark?
And he's like, oh yeah, no, I formed a new Avengers team. I guess that's news. And they're like, oh, cool. Well, you know,
Thanks
good.
for telling us.
They're all like, good for you. And Namor's like, I thought we agreed that we were all going to tell each other about what's going on. And Stark's like, yes, we're very excited to be having a new team. Thanks a lot for asking, Namor. And Namor's like, I don't understand what you're doing.
So he's like barely tolerating Namor.
Yeah, because
Here's the
Namor's a
thing.
dick.
Yeah, Namor sucks, right?
I live under the ocean. I don't give a shit.
No, and Namor's just a fucker. Like, Namor, sometimes he's a supervillain. He hasn't been a
Yeah.
supervillain in a long time, but, like, he's always like, if there's an aggression here, I will invade the surface world. And they're like, man, Namor, you were looking for any excuse to
Yeah,
invade the
any
surface
reason.
world. When
Give me a reason, guys. Give me a reason.
Just hold me back!
Dirty air breathers.
Yeah, like, wow, Namor. You xenophobic dick. Why don't you go flirt with Mr. Fantastic's wife, you cock?
Is she here? She could be. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been a great twist to the Illuminati.
If she was there, like,
She was there
at
the
all
whole
meetings.
time.
Yes.
Yeah,
That'd be freaking cool.
but
And it would
Doctor
redeem-
Strange and Professor X would know.
Yeah, yeah.
No, yeah.
But Professor X is like, fair enough. It's his wife. What are we
Right,
gonna
yeah.
do? You know?
I guess.
I don't know. That'd be fine. No, because Richard would be invited. He would have
Oh,
invented
is
like
Pepper
a.
Potts coming now too? Like,
Why don't we all just bring our wives?
There's a whole episode. There's a whole issue in the Illuminati miniseries where they talk about their wives and girlfriends. They just talk smack about their women.
What?
that's
Yeah.
great.
I was gonna joke that like at least Mr. Fantastic would say like, "Hey, my wife is a superhero."
He's like my wife is amazing and I don't have any problems with her whatsoever. And Namor's like, yes you do. She wants to bang a man under the water.
Wait, what? That's what I think when I think of your wife.
He's just the whole thing. Namor actually gives him some bro advice where he's just like, you lock your beautiful, talented, intelligent woman in the top of a tower. She is going to leave you if you don't appreciate her, and she's going to leave you for a fish man. and Reed's like, I got it covered. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And like, it could be construed as being like creepy and kind of misogynistic, but it could also be construed as like creepy and being like, I have an elastic dick. I'm banging her right now.
I assumed it was I have it covered as like
I'm a good man.
I appreciate her.
Oh,
Like,
sure,
I
I
don't
guess
really
you could
need-
jump to that conclusion that he's just a good
That would
husband
be
and a
the
father.
advice of like a borderline villain.
Exactly.
On, like, how to
yeah.
treat my
Next
wife.
time I need to know like how to do my taxes, I won't be asking Dr. Doom.
Taxes?
Namor.
What the hell are taxes? You mean the tithes I get from my people?
Exactly. See, you've illustrated my point perfectly. Dirk Garthwaite shows up.
Girthweight.
Girthweight.
That's his porn name.
Yeah, his porn name's already set up. It's Dirk Garthwaite. So Dirk shows up and he's the Wrecker. He's a member of the Wrecking
Oh, the
Crew.
Wrecking Crew. Yeah, of course.
A bunch of assholes that
I
have like
remember the Wrecking Crew.
yeah, they like one of them has like a ball and chain.
Yeah.
And Dirk here he's the Wrecker, so he has an enchanted crowbar.
He's gonna wreck her.
Are you here to wreck me?
Well,
That's like the worst Marvel produced porno ever. Oh god, it looks like you're here to wreck me. Break out the crowbar, Wrecker.
I want that one clip of Ethan saying that just to be something.
Oh my god.
Are you here to wreck me?
So he wants his crowbar, and he goes to this unassuming Long Island estate to get it. And so he meets up with this hot chick who's like poolside, and she's the daughter of this random character Bendis invents who is just like a wealthy, bored New York collector who collects the paraphernalia and costumes and weaponry of defeated Marvel supervillains.
I call him the fanboy.
Yes. and he's a villain too. And what's interesting, like Bendis wants to like make more out of this character than is necessary, because he says like, I heard through the grapevine that your dad has my crowbar. And she's like, probably.
He's weird.
So she takes him down into the basement where there's this really cool like collection.
Does he threaten to kill her? Or?
No, it's more like his imposing nature.
Right. Like, I guess I have to do what you say.
Right. Like, just show me where my crowbar is. And she's like, fair enough. So they go down there, and she's like, my dad's a collector. And he's like, a collector? And she goes, yeah, but like, he's more than a collector. Like, he puts on the costumes and acts out scenes and stuff.
No.
And I'm like, what are you doing, Bendis?
Why is she telling this guy this?
Right,
and when
exactly.
He's always naked on his lower half
he's
and
always
touching himself.
masturbating while wearing Mysterio's fishbowl helmet going, beat me again, Spider-Man.
He's like, you know what? Keep the crowbar.
I'm
out.
Good. Yeah. No way, I'm going to wait until your dad gets home. I'm going to punch him in the face, and then I'm going to leave. I might take one of his cars, too. It's probably a good car. Although, God knows what he's doing in there, too, so never mind. By the way, Bendis is like the... He's like the Da Vinci of the move the car George moment. Because, like, who the fuck cares? What are you doing?
He's building the universe.
Yeah, of characters we're never going to see again.
Yeah.
Because literally, he breaks into this house, he sees all this shit, he asks her some questions, he finds his crowbar, he breaks it, and he gets his crowbar. He's like, all right, I'm the wrecker again. And then he's like, all right, let's go. He goes to the garage, he gets in the car, and she's like, are you going to, like, let me go? And he's like, maybe after I'm done with you, get in the car. And now you're like, oh, this is creepy and scary.
Yeah.
And then they get in the car, and she's gonna drive, and so she pulls out of the garage, and there are the new Avengers in a Quinjet right outside.
Huh! Nice.
The idea being that these new Avengers are a lot more proactive. Like they're like, okay, the Wrecker broke out of jail. Let's track where he is and then get him now.
Yeah.
We have Luke Cage, Wolverine, Spider-Woman, and Spider-Man fighting the Wrecker. The Wrecker usually fights the Avengers, like Thor and Iron Man.
The Wrecker does?
Yeah.
What does he do?
He's got an enchanted crowbar that can defeat Thor. And
which means what?
Well, it's like it's enchanted, which means that like it mystical properties. It's really more powerful. It can amplify his power. Like
it won't break.
Right. Like it can really like okay, so like you with a crowbar will still kill me, but like if you hit Thor with a crowbar, he would wreck you.
Yeah.
But like if you have an enchanted crowbar,
it actually hurts.
It would hurt Thor.
Okay.
Like a regular crowbar would hurt Sal.
Exactly. So Wrecker has an enchanted crowbar. He says this about 17 times. It's almost as many times he says he defeated Thor. So
it's my one accolade.
That's literally it's like
Wrecker defeated Thor.
Well, he's like I
was it like a crappy Thor?
He beat the shit out of Thor.
It's like a bad rock paper scissors. Was like crowbar beats hammer.
I mean, like here's the thing. Like we needed to sell Avengers books. If the Avengers defeated
they just always won.
If the Avengers villains were as lame and ineffective as they appeared, then the issues would not sell or be as plentiful.
Well, here's the thing. If we make the villains cool looking and awesome, then we have to turn them into heroes because we want to sell books about them.
Exactly. Well, they didn't come up with that idea.
That's how we get Deadpool.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, the point being that like the Wrecker alone can fight a powerful Avengers. This is a new Avengers. It's mostly street people. It's Spider-Woman and Luke Cage and Wolverine. What's hilarious about that is like it's Wolverine. So he's like, okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stab him with my adamantium claws. As opposed to the Avengers, who was like, I'll punch him with my enchanted hammer, and he'll go over there. You know,
other members of the team like, no, Wolverine, you can't stab him.
No.
Okay.
Why am I here then?
Spider-Man should be like that, but he isn't. Moving on. So Wrecker, the running joke, of course, is the Wrecker keeps like hitting Wolverine with his crowbar and just launching him over there. So like he constantly is just like beating the shit out of these people. But like the new Avengers are fighting the Wrecker in suburbia,
right?
And they're also street level, so it's like okay, normally we fight like people who are our own power level, but like this guy's a little bit more souped up, so it's gonna take more effort and time. And so you know, Spider-Man's like webbing him, and he's like, I can break your webs, and then like Wolverine shows up and then he just goes blah, and he's like, son of a bitch. Like, Captain America never stabbed me with like 3 swords, you asshole. And then just keeps knocking
him out. That's not fair, man. That's not how we play.
Yeah, but they keep beating the shit out of him. And
what is Spider-Woman doing? What's her power?
She can shoot venom blasts out of her hands.
Yeah, they're like sting.
They're basically they're basically
he
like,
doesn't seem to even acknowledge that that's happening to him.
That's right. But then she goes up to him and she's like, listen, you like this is not the way to do this. And she starts reasoning with him.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, he's listening to her. And we break up the action by seeing the Sentry and stuff like that. But like anyway, the idea is like Cap and Iron Man, after the Illuminati meeting, Iron Man meets up with Cap, and then the two of them go and meet up with Maria Hill, newly appointed head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Because she's like, you know, after the breakout situation, that Sentry guy just like bailed, and so he's now holed up in this like cavern in the Nevada desert, and we need you guys to like explain to him that he's crazy and get him out of here, because like I don't want this like nuclear bomb like anywhere he wants to be. We need him like checked.
And then Garth Ennis is like, oh man, the Nevada desert, I love the Nevada desert.
Yeah. Well, he's
Can I write the Sentry?
no you can't, Garth.
No
Garth, go write the boys and make me throw up. So it's like A plot, the new Avengers fighting the Wrecker. B plot, Cap and Iron Man are reasoning with the Sentry.
Okay.
So they go and they meet with the Sentry, and they're like,
He looks
"Dude,
terrible."
Oh yeah, okay. So like, Bob, you know, what's your problem? He's like, you don't understand. I killed my wife. And then they present the woman that would be his wife.
What?
Lindy Reynolds is technically Bob Reynolds' wife, the guy who is the Sentry.
They looked him up. They figured out who he was.
Yeah, they figured out, well, because his name was there, and so they just
Right.
looked him up, and then they found his wife, and she's like, my husband bailed on me like a few months ago, and like I guess he's here. So they brought her with them, and they're like, Bob, you didn't kill your wife. Here she is, and she's like, honey, like I'm not dead.
Oh, so that is his wife.
Yes,
It's not like she goes and she's like, oh, that's not my husband.
Yeah, and they brought Paul Jenkins, Marvel Comics author, who wrote The Sentry, which is some meta comic booking, because they when Marvel created The Sentry about a year or so before this, Paul Jenkins, Marvel comic book writer, wrote The Sentry.
Yeah.
And it's this little mini series where they retcon The Sentry into Marvel continuity.
I remember. We talked about that.
And so Cap and Iron Man get Paul Jenkins to show up and explain to like Bob that the Sentry's a character he created in comic books.
What? So are they retconning that the Sentry stuff never happened?
No.
Like the book we read about the Sentry never happened?
No, they're saying that. Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So
That's fucking weird.
then we flash back to like some Sentry comics.
Okay.
Where, like the Sentry's fighting some Skrulls, which is Ben is also
written by Perky Paul Jenkins.
yeah, exactly. It's just a little in joke back in the day when like Marvel used to do their bullpens, and when they explained their credits, they would give them all like silly names.
Yeah, like nicknames.
Yeah.
And Sassy Sal Buscema.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be Sassy Sal on the couch.
I would rather not. So we see like an adventure of the Sentry, and then we pull back to see like they're showing Bob these Sentry
comic book,
comics, and they're like, "What's okay?" So like, you are obviously super powerful, and you call yourself the Sentry, but there's also this comic book called The Sentry about your adventures that never happened, and none of us remember you. But you obviously have a wife and stuff, so like we were hoping you could explain what's going on here.
Even though you're crazy.
Yeah. So Spider-Woman fights the Wrecker with her words,
Right.
and she's like, "Listen, I don't want to fight you. Like, I want to help you, actually." And Wrecker's like, "You do, huh?" Like, okay.
No one's ever said that to me before.
Yeah, and he's like, I gotta tell you, like, no one's ever listened to me before.
And Wolverine fucking stabs
And then
him.
Wolverine drops out of nowhere and slashes down his back.
Oh!
And then he drops his crowbar, and then Spider-Woman just hits him with it a couple times, tosses it to Luke Cage, and then Luke Cage just beats him with it.
Wow.
And then knocks him into one of Spider-Man's webs, so he's like suspended, so he can't like get free.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man's like, "Wow, that almost worked perfectly. Jesus. That took like forever." Like, we are not good at this.
Yeah.
We are bad at being superheroes.
it
But
took
they did
6
take down someone who's more powerful than
Yes,
any one of them.
but it also caused like a lot of damage. There's also
Yeah.
there's a great Spider-Man moment where like Spider-Man just swings by with a tricycle and just smashes it into his head. He goes, "Oops, I dropped my tricycle." But anyway, so they beat him, and they're like, "What was that all about, Spider-Woman? Like, how did you get it?" She goes, "Oh, when I'm around men, I emit a pheromone that makes them naturally attracted to me." And then all the men just go,
What?
"Oh, thank God! Oh my God! I do not understand why I've been like jacking it to you for the last week, but I guess it's because of that. Thank you so much."
She's like, no, once you're like 5 feet away from me, it stops working.
No,
so.
it's well, yeah, but like they're just like, you know, Spider-Man's like, "Because I love my wife. I want everyone to understand that," and they're like, "Jesus Christ!" So then,
You understand how embarrassing it is when I get a spider boner?
yeah,
When we're fighting
it's all
somebody?
spandex.
You can
It
see
leaves
it clearly.
Nothing to the imagination. So then Iron Man's like, "Hey, you gotta, Avengers assemble.
Come back.
I just got to deal with this. I just had to deal with this like God."
Yeah.
And
Some shit's going on.
yeah, because by the way, like Lindy being told that, like, she's dead by her husband makes her start freaking out, so she's, like, screaming at him, and then he's like, get away from me! And then he, like, Dr. Manhattans it up and leaves.
Oh, he, like, teleports?
Yeah.
Okay.
He bails.
Wait, he said he killed you.
Well, he says, like, yeah, because the idea is that, like, he's like, I killed you because the Void is my arch nemesis, and he's actually, like, a part of me, and so, like, the Void murdered you.
Okay.
But also me.
But it's really me. Because it's like, if I use my powers, the Void will do equal evil, so, like, I'm responsible.
Right.
Please tell me this is not going to end with Paul Jenkins, like,
no, writing like,
comics
oh no, it's
it's
the end of Inkheart. No, so they're like,
Good.
well, that was weird. And then Bob, looking totally different, wakes up in his, like, apartment house thing. Like, it's his house in, like, Connecticut.
Okay.
And so he's like, and he has, like, a dog, and he's living the bachelor life, and you're like, what the fuck? And it's kind of, like, weird.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Sentry created, like, multiple lives for himself. Like, there's one in the comics, there's one where he's the Sentry, there's another one, like, in real life, there's another one where he's, like, married to Lindy, and then there's another one where, like, he left, and he's, like, still by himself.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
He puts in many hours in the day.
Yeah, it's really weird. So he's sitting in his, like, easy chair, and he's watching TV, and then Emma Frost from the X-Men appears on the TV, and she's like, hey, Bob, listen, you need to chill out, and I want you to turn off the TV and come on outside. And he's like, what? So he goes outside.
Why is the TV talking?
Yeah, he goes outside, and everyone from the Marvel Universe is outside.
Oh, wow.
And it, again, by the way, it's like half the people you would never see, like the Fantastic Four.
This guy?
That's Karnak
Oh.
of the Inhumans. And it was, by the way, a courtesy that they appeared in this.
There's a
Because
lot
you're
of
like,
Inhumans here.
it is. No, it's
Lockjaw.
just the royal family.
All right. Okay.
It's just because Black Bolt is on the Illuminati.
Right,
We're admitting the Inhumans are part of the Marvel Universe, and so we're going to put them here.
Okay.
But it wasn't a mandate from Marvel. It was more like Ben is like, and I'll put the Inhumans in there.
Yeah,
and it's like
show
that's
up.
when I like seeing them. When it's like, yeah, well, like the Marvel Universe shows up. It's like, oh, and some Inhumans are there, of course, as
And
well.
we're here too.
Yeah, but they're not like they don't have like 4 different series all written by Cullen Bunn, and like the X-Men comics all suck as a result. So
How come Namor doesn't bring anybody?
it's just him. Well, because he's an
like,
arrogant
I
son
don't
of a
really
bitch.
have- yeah.
It's just
I was gonna
me.
say, maybe he's got those guys in the back.
No, those are Shield agents. There's also a helicarrier parked outside. So then he's like, "No, you don't understand. You guys being here will make the Void show up." And then like they're like, "I don't know what that means, man."
What the hell are you talking about?
And then it flashes back to the Illuminati meeting that Stark had with the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, so yeah, like I'm here. Like I called the meeting not to tell you like about the new Avengers. I mean, like thanks for all the accolades and everything, but like the real problem is like, does anybody remember the Sentry? Because I don't.
And I'm like, is it me?
Yeah.
Or
Is it
did
like
he
a
come out of
power?
nowhere?
Right. And yeah.
Did he mind wipe us or
right,
something?
and Mr. Fantastic's like, I don't know. Like I'm looking it up, and then Professor X is like, Professor, or Dr. Richards, if I may, someone's been fucking with your mind. And you're like, oh, like what's going on here? So then it's multiple timeline. We're gonna see the flashback to the Illuminati and like the meeting that they had,
yeah.
and the like current timeline, like all the
the intervention kind of thing.
well, the intervention, yes. So the Void appears and then attacks all the Marvel heroes, and the Void manifests itself as like a giant, evil, amorphous, living blob monster. And so the whole rest of the book is everyone from the Marvel Universe fighting the Void, thereby showing you like, holy shit, the Void is really powerful.
Okay.
So
The Void is actually the most powerful.
yeah, exactly. He's over 9,000, and
What?
while
He's like a demon thing?
he's whatever he wants to be.
Oh.
So
I can take whatever form I like.
yeah, so while the Void is out there, like, attacking everybody, like, basically the idea was that when Professor X unlocked shit in Mr. Fantastic, he got all the pieces locked into place, and then they had to formulate a plan of how to deal with the Sentry. And they're like, okay, if the Void comes out, we're going to need everyone to deal with it while we convince Bob of what we already know about the Sentry. Like, what we actually always knew, but we're not allowed to know because our memories were changed.
Okay.
So here's what's happening. The Void goes out and attacks everybody, and they're like all trying to keep it contained in this little suburban town.
Yeah.
And then Emma Frost, Mr. Fantastic, and like I think one other person, I don't remember. I think it's just them. Oh, Iron Man creates like a stasis field, so like none of the action affects them.
Okay.
Okay.
What,
So
he
they're-
could do that? He can create a stasis field?
Yeah.
Out of his suit, or he
Yeah.
brought up a device with it?
No, it's a suit. It creates stasis.
He
fields.
like shoots it or
He
something?
should do that all the time. That's really powerful.
I agree. He only does it when people remember he can do that.
Right.
So then he's like, "Hey, listen, I know that you're the Sentry, and I know that you have those powers." And he's like, "How do you know that?" And he's like, "Because you told me." And then he shows him this video that the Sentry recorded before everything went away, where he's like, "Hey, Bob, it's me. If they're waking you up, it means that bad shit is happening."
Hi, Bob. It's me, Bob.
Yeah.
It's me, Bob.
He goes,
It's you.
It's the Total Recall moment. Where he's like, "Get your ass to Mars." You are not you. You're me. What? So he's just like, he goes, "Listen, that's Mr. Fantastic. He's one of our oldest friends. Whatever he wants to do it. Trust him. It's fine."
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right, Bob. Pull down your pants.
I told myself that I should do it. So anyway,
I'm gonna get fucked by Mr. Fantastic. And Emma Frost is gonna watch.
which she would.
Is she gonna join in?
No.
No, Bob. I'm sorry.
I am not. This is the fullest extent of me joining in, as I will be watching it and recording it for YouTube. So then,
does this help?
so the reason Emma Frost is there is so that she can unlock his memories for him. So then she enters into his mind, and we see this cool interpretive vision of all of his memories, and it's basically just some of them are panels from the Sentry miniseries, and some of them are just Steve McNiven drawing cool shit. But Emma Frost is basically info dumping what she does, how she's able to do it, and how she is using her powers to unlock his memories and then show him basically everything that he should have already known.
Right.
And so she's seeing his origin, and she's like, "That's weird that your origin is being presented like it's an old comic book from the 60s, but let's move on." So then she finds one of the memories is that Mastermind and the Void worked together to suppress the Sentry.
Okay.
And
Who's
Mastermind is an ex-villain that actually worked with Emma Frost on the Hellfire Club.
Okay.
He has I want to say he's mind powers, but he's not really a telepath. He can
He's just very manipulative.
he can suggest ideas and put you into into scenarios that are advantageous to him.
Okay.
So he can make you basically live into a waking.
He's like Trask's son in X2.
Yes, he's Mastermind.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
yeah, so she's like, "Oh, that's interesting." Okay, Mastermind, fuck him. By the way, he sucks, and he's not. By the way, not nearly as powerful as I am. You'll need to know that for later. Not really. And who's the other guy? And the other guy is the Void. And the Void was like, "Yaha! I'll work with Mastermind and make the Sentry go away. And even though if I go away, it means I've defeated my greatest nemesis." And the best part of it is we will erase his existence. And so I'm happy going away forever if there never was a Sentry to begin with.
Okay.
All of his great heroism will never be remembered.
Okay.
And then Bob rejects that notion, which amplifies the Void, making him fight stronger and harder.
Okay.
And then
He's like, "You shouldn't have done that to me."
yes.
You shouldn't have remembered.
Yeah. So then we go cut to the Shield Herald carrier where Lindy, his wife, and Paul Jenkins, the comic book writer, are being held in a waiting room.
Okay.
So
And Paul Jenkins
while Paul Jenkins created him, in this universe, Paul Jenkins didn't create him.
in this
Paul Jenkins
universe,
is nobody.
In this universe, Paul Jenkins is a comic book writer who writes Marvel comics. There are Marvel comics in Marvel Comics, and in fact, they are
I know that Jennifer.
in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
They are used as court documents. You can submit Marvel comics in a court of law as evidence for things that happened because they're accounts of actual events within the universe. They're legal binding documents.
Fucking what?
I remember one time.
Who writes them?
She was in a court case. She's like, "Go to the long boxes."
Yes, and they pull out these comics. Yeah, who writes them? People who live within the Marvel universe. They write comic books about what happened.
So they're official histories.
Yes.
In comic book form.
Yes.
That are official documents.
It's like if there was a comic about Washington crossing the Delaware.
Yeah.
And it's admissible in court as an authoritative account
Yes,
of what
it is.
happened. That's weird.
It's very weird. But the idea is that the
I guess
Sentry...
it's a courtroom sketch. It's an official thing.
Exactly.
This is the account
Of what
for
happened.
the law of what happened.
Right.
Weird.
By the way, Paul Jenkins' exception to that rule is that the Sentry kind of inceptioned his whole history. He couldn't let himself die. So he like put the seed of his own existence into the mind of Paul Jenkins, who made it manifest in comic book form.
Wow, he's got a lot of powers.
Yeah, Sentry has many powers, according to Brian Michael Bendis.
Wow. Okay.
So anyway, Sentry and so Jenkins and Lindy are talking, and then Lindy just falls unconscious because Jenkins is like, "This is amazing. I'm talking to one of my own creations. Like I created you to be his wife
as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only in real life, he thinks that he created her, but really they always were.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Of course.
It's
So
like
anyway.
finding out that like someone like slipped you a script
Yeah.
of the real world.
Well, it's like the Truman Show.
Yeah.
So
he remembers making her up,
Yes.
but he never made her up.
right.
So he has a
Those are
false memory
memories.
of creating her from nothing.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Or he has the memories of creating her, but the memories were guided by an unseen force.
Yeah.
That's really more like what it is.
Okay.
So then Emma's like, okay, I'm getting nowhere with Bob. I'll pull his wife in and be like, I need you to give me like memories of you and him together that I can use against him, so that he doesn't like become like the devil and destroy all creation. So then like he
Pretty tall order.
yeah, we basically see their first kiss. And then it like so it's a comic book, right? We're seeing like the scene.
Yeah.
And then it pulls back as like a movie that Bob and Emma are watching.
Okay.
And Bob's like, that was a really nice moment. And she's like, okay, like now that I've got you grounded again.
Right.
He keeps looking different too.
Yeah. Well, like
A little different each time.
when he's like, yeah, sometimes he has a beard, sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he has long hair, sometimes he doesn't. And it's just like his powers, like creating which version of Bob he is.
Well, like, and he's in his mind right now, so like it makes sense that he would change.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
mindscape.
Yes, which is a real place.
Yeah.
So then basically she's like, okay, you need to like you need to basically unlock your memories in order to gain control of everything. You need to accept your responsibility as the Sentry in order to stop the Void from just running amok.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, like I'm down, because she's like, okay, listen, like when you wake up, you will remember everything. You'll be yourself again, but you'll be your old self again. This like new version of you that like is an amnesiac, that like either sometimes lives in a cave and thinks he killed his wife, or is a bachelor who doesn't do much, who lives in Connecticut. Like
That'll be gone.
Those will be gone, and you'll be your old self again. And on the plus side, you'll get to be an Avenger. And he's like, okay.
Cool, I get to hang out with like Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah.
She's like,
Well, no, they're there.
New Avenger.
They're there too, though.
No, I know, but
But
like,
it's like, yeah, I get to hang out with Thor. No, he's dead or something. So they,
So
then
she's unmaking the mind wipe that Mastermind. put
Exactly.
on. Okay.
So then the Void just disappears, and there's like just a mess, and Shield agents are like just mopping up and trying to clean, like help all the wounded and everything. And Bob's like, "Hey guys, oh I'm sorry about this."
Is that me?
And then they're like,
Did
"Yeah,
I do that?
wait. When he wakes up, does the void go away?
the Void just disappears."
Okay.
Yeah, like he never was there. Yeah,
So the void is like maintained by his like anguish and
Yes.
frustration or something.
Yeah, it's
And when he
almost
took
like
responsibility, he's like,
he could
It's
like
okay.
it went away. Maybe like he controlled it, maybe on a subconscious level. It's not like this, because this Bob who's still here right now doesn't even like understand what the Void is.
Okay, because I thought the void did equal badness to
Yes,
him doing goodness,
and that's what Paul Jenkins wrote in the Sentry comics.
but that's not what's happening here.
No, Bendis is retconning the Sentry and basically saying like, no, you create the Void because you think that he does that.
Oh, like you.
So
wanted
Bendis
to,
is kind of-
you wanted to break shit, and your subconscious wanted like a rationale to do
Yeah.
it.
so
it
Bendis
made
is
up this
fixing
thing.
the Sentry?
He's fixing the Sentry because he's like, the Sentry, the Void worked with Mastermind to make you go away. You didn't do that. The Void did that. He's a
Right.
Yeah.
Also,
He-
we can't constantly have a character that when they do good stuff,
Oh,
we
no,
also
no.
have to do a lot of bad stuff.
yeah, it's inconvenient, but it's like, yeah, no, but like that's what the Sentry was, and that's why it was interesting.
How old is the Sentry at this point?
How long has he been around?
Yeah.
Since the formation of the Marvel Universe. Like, not the...
No,
not
I
the-
mean, since when do they start writing Sentry comics?
He's been around for a year.
So Bendis is already changing the way this character works that they just
Well,
invented?
yeah, because like they invented him for this really cool miniseries, and then no one wanted to do anything with him. And then Bendis wanted to put him on the New Avengers, and nobody tells Bendis what to do, so he does this.
Nobody puts Bendis
In a corner.
They're all like, oh, that was cool, I guess. Weird. And then,
wait, what happened?
right, and Jarvis calls up and he's like, you guys got to get down to Avengers Tower. And they're like, why? And then we get there, and Avengers Tower has this big, ridiculous, like, augmentation on top of it. It's the Sentry's watchtower. It's like his base of operations that he used when he was a superhero. That because the Sentry was brought back, so was his watchtower, which he like puts in a safe place, and it just coincidentally happened to be on top of Avengers Tower.
So what happened to Avengers Tower?
It's just the
Like,
watchtower.
it wraps around.
Yes,
the top.
Avengers
so
Tower.
This is Avengers Tower.
Yeah,
here.
Avengers Tower's
okay.
here, or Stark Tower.
Stark Tower.
And
yeah. And it's just like funk.
yeah, it just went boink. But like that's where the Sentry hid it, and he's
So it was
like,
there the whole time.
yes.
Okay, it
It's just
didn't
we couldn't see
conjure
it.
out of nothing.
Well, I mean, like kind
It
of.
did.
Or did it?
It was
this
in like a
time.
different it was in maybe it was,
in, like,
they don't
another
really explain,
dimension
but it
or
was in
something?
but he
Yeah.
put it someplace.
Yeah,
But it's
okay.
funny because like Captain America in the first volume of the New Avengers is like trying to convince Tony to redo the Avengers. Like, you got to join, you got to like help us.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, listen, like the first Avengers formed kind of like because there was a need for it, and I believe that like this team is the New Avengers. Like, I believe that like they're here for a reason, that like fate made this happen.
Right.
And Stark's like, whatever, Steve, I'm not gonna pay for the Avengers, but like you can stay in my house, and I guess I'll be on the team. Like, I'm down, but like
Right.
don't get all like mystical on me.
Yeah.
And then,
it's
like-
just a bunch of people.
And then
helping each
they
other.
see the Stark Tower with the thing, and he goes, all right, Cap, I'm with you on the fate thing.
Right.
Damn it.
We insisted on getting the Sentry. You
Yeah.
insisted on keeping this team. We do it, and this thing, okay.
It's on my building.
Yeah, that's weird.
That sounds more like Tony would be like, hey, so Sentry, could you move that?
right, like
'Cause
away.
I was gonna say, like, how long you been planning this
Yeah.
Sentry?
But, like, no,
You've
he's-
been talking to Cap.
He's in no way suspicious, and it's
Interesting.
interesting. And then the Sentry is like, well, I gotta go in there. And they're like, what's in there anyway? And he goes, my whole life. Like, everything that I forgot or left behind is in here. And then he's like I'm going in. And then he goes in there, and then he
It's
is
nothing but dead pets.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh god, yeah, it's been
now.
a year.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, well, it's been like many years. It's been
Yeah.
like since Mastermind was a thing. So he goes in there and then isn't in the next like 3 issues or whatever, because like
in there
yeah,
doing
and that's
doing
the
Sentry
problem with
stuff.
putting the Sentry on the New Avengers, by the way, because like
he's too powerful.
Yeah,
he's
he'll
too
just
powerful.
defeat anyone in like a
And
second.
so they brought back his schizophrenia and like the Void and everything. So like every time he needs to do anything, he's like, "But what if the Void?"
right.
And you're like, "But why'd you do the retcon?" So
So you tried to fix it,
yeah,
and
So-
you just ended up ruining it more.
yeah.
So Bendis needed like a big conflict.
Yeah.
He needed like something to be like, oh, but the Sentry could go crazy at any moment
Yeah.
and destroy everything.
And what's funny is, so like in the first volume of New Avengers, there's always like this. There was going to be this like through line, because when the New Avengers formed, they went to the Savage Land to go fight Sauron, and when they got there, there were like mutates there who were the indigenous tribes named mutates, and they're being forced to do indigenous servitude to a rogue faction of Shield that was like
Yeah.
mining for vibranium, and then like they launched nukes at this operation and killed everybody, and so that happened. And so it's like there's something rotten in Shield.
right, right.
And so when Tony goes back to the new event or to the Illuminati and he's talking to them about like he's giving them the mission report, they're like, so you guys, like Doctor Strange is like, so the Avengers are going to take responsibility for waking up the Sentry and whatever that means. Like you're in the reason he's an Avenger is so you can keep an eye on him.
Right.
And he's like, yes. And they're like, okay, because when he goes crazy, like it's your deal. You're holding the bag for the Sentry. And they're like, yeah. And then they're like, but if there's a problem, you call us.
Right.
And he's
We'll
like, I will.
pool our resources and we'll take care of it.
And then Mr. Fantastic's like, by the way, like, I heard that something really fucked up happened in the Savage Land. Is there anything you want to tell us? And Stark says no. And you're like, oh shit, what happened? And then Marvel launched Civil War and everything got ruined. Like literally, we're going along, we're doing this thing.
Yeah.
What's going on with S.H.I.E.L.D.? Oh my god, what's this? What's that? The Illuminati. Stark can't be trusted in the Illuminati. And then Civil War happens and disrupts everything. Like we get maybe 1 or 2 more volumes of New Avengers before the whole team gets split in fucking half and then has to fight each other, and then we have to make a whole new team, and then we have 2 Avengers. We got the Mighty Avengers and the New Avengers, and like the teams are halved, and then Spider-Woman turns out to be a Skrull, and it's a whole goddamn mess. But when you're first reading this, you're like, cool. There's something going on. People are paying attention. Someone's in charge.
A story.
Yeah.
Do they ever get back to like what happened
In the Savage
Land?
Land? No.
Huh.
That sucks.
You just have to I guess you take it at face value. Maybe it was the Skrulls. Maybe. It must have been the Skrulls.
I guess
in Secret
it was
Invasion.
Skrulls.
I guess
they
it was
used a lot
Skrulls.
of vibranium.
No. Right, like
So it wasn't the Skrulls.
but like,
or at least that doesn't
and like,
explain.
here's my no
sufficiently.
prize, right? Like, okay, the Skrulls. Remember when the Skrulls like had to make themselves become
People,
Yeah.
and they need to approximate superhero powers, and they need to like also be able to hide from Mr. Fantastic's powers and his devices and Skrull detection and shit.
Yeah.
Maybe they needed to use new technology that like they didn't have access to, and they needed vibranium to do it. So they used that to make their special like Super Skrull augmentation technology. Except we know that's not true because in the Illuminati miniseries. We'll get into the new... You know what? We'll do that another time.
So when the Skrulls are in the Savage Land, can they not shapeshift?
No, they can because they're aliens. That's what they do.
Okay.
I don't understand why that. I don't know.
Like how
weird.
How it works for
Anything.
humans, but how it doesn't affect aliens.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
tuned
well,
to
here's the thing. We don't even know if there were Skrulls there in the first place. So like,
It's an assumption.
It's
a
not a
guess.
power.
yeah, it's what I am. I shapeshift. It's
Well,
like
It's like you
oh,
can breathe when you're in the Savage
Yeah.
Lands. I can change shape.
Yeah,
Shapeshift.
yeah. If you're double jointed, it doesn't make you not double jointed anymore.
Right. That's what me changing my face is.
Yeah.
For my body.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the same as like you flying.
Right.
We can all shape shift.
Yes, that's what we do. That's literally, it's what I can do. It's the same thing as you being able to bend your elbow.
Yeah.
It's just another thing I can do. It's not a power.
I'm not breaking the rules, Ben.
Yeah.
What about
I'm
the
a
Super
Skrull.
Scroll?
Does he have superpowers?
Yes, he
more
does.
so than a regular Skrull?
Yes, he does.
So, yeah, I
Well,
guess
because
those additional
Skrulls
powers
can,
shouldn't work.
Yeah, Skrulls can change shape. Super Skrulls, well, it's
The
just...
Super Skrull.
There was one Super Skrull, and he just has all the powers of the Fantastic Four.
Oh, right, because he gave them to himself or something. Right?
He changed himself to do it. But he's also like always that. So he has like a thing arm all the time.
Right.
But he's always on fire half
So that
the
also
time.
means like any Skrull who approximated someone and like used their powers wouldn't be able to do that.
No, like they could.
Right.
No,
I guess-
well they wouldn't.
I mean,
they're only shapeshifting. They're not able to.
they
also,
can't use their powers at all.
No.
Yeah.
Except that when they did the thing,
In
where
Secret
they,
Invasion, they could, but
they
only
could.
because they were physically
they
altered.
specifically altered themselves
Yes.
to do that. Yeah.
So
But
that
normally
might,
they can't mimic powers.
right, and I don't know if it would have worked in the Savage Land. Actually,
Yeah,
no.
Here's the question: would their special
That's
added
weird.
powers?
The answer should be no.
In Secret Invasion, as we remember, they actually do have a big fight in the Savage Land, and like they all use their powers, so like nobody's paying attention. Anyway,
Yay.
New Avengers: The Sentry is fun and cool. I guess it's literally like 3 issues, but it's crammed into 5 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Fun moments, great characterization for everyone but the Sentry, and
It's a shame you don't get any for any more of the Wrecker.
no, that's
Oh,
just,
it's
it's just
okay,
a
they
one-off.
beat him.
It's weird, yeah. And then for no reason at all, I guess because there's only like 3 issues in this collection, if you get this volume, they have like a rundown of
Biographies
different
random
villains from A to
villains
Z.
you've never heard of.
Yeah, well, I've heard of them.
Well, yeah, but I have.
Yeah, like Barbarous.
And
Yeah.
Answer.
Oh, yes. I think.
But what's
yeah.
the question?
That's the joke that Spider-Man takes whenever he beats him. Anyway, Sentry from New Avengers. Check it out. We'll put a link in the description box below this video. You can grab it yourself, and we'll see you guys next week with another episode. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
Thanks all for watching.